I'm Kento Bento.
This video is made possible by Skillshare, home to over 20,000 classes to teach you a new life skill. The first 500 people to sign up with a link below will get their first 2 months for free. 50.1 years. According to the World Health Organization, this is the average life expectancy in the country of Sierra Leone. As of now, one of the lowest in the world. At the other end of the spectrum, we have countries like Italy, Iceland, Singapore, and Switzerland, all with an average life expectancy well into their 80s. Now, beating all those countries, however, is, of course, Japan, topping the list at 83.7 years. Note, though, that the UN data is a little different. Regardless, this is the country with the longest average life expectancy. But this video is not about Japan, because there is a city with an even longer life expectancy. This is Hong Kong, a city with over 7.4 million people living on about 1,000 square kilometers of land, or 400 square miles, one of the most densely populated places on the planet, a fast-paced city that never sleeps. It's a city of contradictions, with towering buildings next to lush green mountains, street food stalls alongside McDonald's and KFCs, markets selling cheap counterfeits in front of designer stores, but the most surprising perhaps is the extremely long life expectancy of the people living in what is one of the most polluted cities in the world. Hong Kong has an average life expectancy of 84.3 years. Ironically enough, Hong Kong, or Hong Kong as it's pronounced in Cantonese, literally translates to fragrant harbor. This title may have been more fitting back in the day when fragrant wood products and incense were traded in the region. But today, in all its smoggy glory, it's perhaps just another addition to the city of contradictions. With the 200,000 plus red taxis trawling the roads, uniform high-rises impacting air circulation, idling engines of cars, trucks, buses, cargo ship emissions, giant coal-fired power stations, and the thousands of factories in neighboring mainland China puffing out fumes, pollution is considered a serious problem in Hong Kong. Note, the city has among the highest density of vehicles in the world, and visibility there is also less than 8 kilometers for 30% of the year. When London was hit by the Great Smog of 1952, one of the worst air pollution events in history, an estimated 12,000 people died due to the high concentrations. So it's no surprise that in Hong Kong, bad air quality is responsible for about 90,000 hospital admissions and 2,800 premature deaths every year. A study found that air pollution in Hong Kong increased the risk of dying from any type of cancer by 22%. So what's going on here? How can this not so fragrant harbor a population with the longest average life expectancy in the world? Japan had traditionally been the one to beat, but over the last few decades, Hong Kong had caught up in a huge way, overtaking Japan about 5 years ago. Okay, if we take a look at where Hong Kong is positioned, it's in a region that's not too hot and not too cold. It's a subtropical climate, which makes life easier and more comfortable. There aren't, for example, harsh winter months that take a toll on the elderly, like in the US or UK, where there's an excess of deaths during wintertime. But other places or countries also known for their longevity can actually have very different climates than Hong Kong. So this certainly isn't the only factor. In fact, this is just the first of 8 that I'll be covering. The last 2 here I find particularly fascinating. Now, of course, food is on this list. Hong Kong's geographical access to good food isn't surprising given the region's position as a marine and land gateway to many parts of Asia. The local cuisine is also in many ways similar to the Mediterranean diet, which most, if not all, major scientific organizations encourage for prevention of major chronic diseases. They also drink copious amounts of herbal tea, which has plenty of antioxidants and lowers blood pressure levels. Not surprisingly, like in many parts of Asia, you see very few big or overweight people in Hong Kong. Actually, I've already covered some of this in my video on why Asians supposedly don't get fat, a reference to the stereotype, which you can find in the description below. Right, accessibility is also a factor. Despite living in a dense urban area, Hong Kongers have easy access to most amenities. There are numerous walkways and footbridges that seem to connect anything to everything. Actually, it can be quite a maze, but this means more walking and less driving, which is good. And this despite public transportation being easy and cheap. Beaches and mountains are just a short drive away, so taking part in physical outdoor activities like swimming and hiking is not an issue. And speaking of keeping fit, people in Hong Kong are always consciously aware of the need to exercise. There seems to be a slight obsession with jogging in particular, at least compared to other places I've been to. It's a frequent sight to see people of all shapes and sizes and of all ages, so it's not just the hardcores, running outside on the narrow walking routes. For older people, if not jogging, you'll see many of them up early in parks and gardens practicing Tai Chi or Qigong. And these places they practice in have been designed with their needs and capacities in mind. It's an enabling environment where almost all districts in Hong Kong are members of the WHO Global Network of Age-Friendly Cities. Now, here comes the sexy stuff, because Hong Kong's healthcare is also top-notch. Older people generally do not have to pay for primary care, and everyone has access to hospital treatment. Nobody here is denied due to a lack of means, and, not surprisingly, accessible healthcare leads to longevity. The downside though is that people tend to go to doctors or emergency rooms a little too often. Final note here is that Hong Kong also has a low proportion of smokers, where only about 10% of the population smoke every day. You can compare this with the 20% in Japan. Okay, here's a statement. People who live alone die sooner. Many studies have shown this. However, this isn't an issue in Hong Kong, because like in many East Asian societies, there's a cultural emphasis on respect and care for the elders. Strong family ties lead to considerable financial and social support for people as they get older. You'll often see large families dining together for their weekly dim sum, with younger members of the family ensuring grandma or grandpa is served first and served well. Family comes first, whether you like it or not. And it's not uncommon to find 3 or 4 generations of the family living under one roof. With all this care and attention, how can it not improve lifespan? And it's not just family, but friends. Hong Kong senior citizens love a bit of socializing. They also love their mahjong, a super popular centuries-old Chinese tile game often played inside alleyways and in parlors. Aging experts say this mentally stimulating game helps with the retention of memory, delaying the onset of dementia. And all this is assuming they're not still working, because in Hong Kong, there's no statutory retirement age, so you'll find many working well beyond the age of 65, which isn't such a bad thing as prolonged engagement in organized work often leads to a higher age of mortality. Alright, now, we're at the most fascinating point of all. At least I find it fascinating. Let me explain. An estimated 70% of Hong Kongers over the age of 70 were not born in Hong Kong. They were born in mainland China, having come over in search of better opportunities. They had suffered greatly from the Cultural Revolution, which included vast famine. Right now, these people are at an age where they should be dying. Indeed, that's what's happening to their relatives and peers back in their village. But they aren't, at least not at the same rate. And this seems to point to one thing: their attitude. Because the ones that made it to Hong Kong had to be tough, both physically and mentally. They climbed, they ran, they swam, and there were many who attempted the journey that didn't make it. Neither East Germans climbing the Berlin Wall nor the North Koreans crossing over to China were comparable to the mass exodus to Hong Kong. So, why are they not yet dying off? Well, the physical and psychological attributes that helped them get to Hong Kong in the first place may in part be responsible for what's driving them forward today. Thus, at least for the present time, and in combination with the previous factors, this has led to Hong Kong having the longest average life expectancy despite being one of the most polluted cities in the world. Which makes you wonder how long they would actually live for, and get ready for an outdated reference here, if not for Hong Kong's 50 Shades of Grey. If you want to exercise your brain and live a long, healthy life, you can always take a mentally stimulating course like this very one on Skillshare. You see, Skillshare is an amazing place to learn what you want to learn. They have over 20,000 classes on pretty much anything, from how to improve your health through meal planning or yoga, to how to create your own successful educational video on YouTube. Hopefully like this one. I've personally found this class by Simon Sinek incredibly useful on how to deliver an effective presentation. If you're curious about some of the principles I use when presenting the topics in my YouTube videos, this is one you should check out. A membership to Skillshare is less than $10 a month, but if you're one of the first 500 people to sign up with the link below, you will get the first 2 months for free. Now just get out there and live a long, happy life.